Hello, welcome to the live for Moms Love Coaching, self-care from the inside out for moms. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is how to get through hard things. We all go through hard things in life, and what usually happens is we go through the hard thing, but then we also put a whole bunch of other stuff on that. So we create a whole bunch of suffering that we don't need to create. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. I have bucketed some hardships into 4 categories: financial, career, relationships, and the physical and mental category. So in my experience, those are the top 4 things that hardships can fall into. And before we get going, for those of you who don't know, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Carrie McFarland. I am a certified life coach and the founder of Moms Love Coaching, where we teach moms how to prioritize themselves and practice self-care from the inside out. So what does that mean when I say practice self-care from the inside out? What I am talking about is creating an identity shift in yourself that says that you are a mom who prioritizes herself no matter what, so that you can take care of your mental health and physical well-being at the highest levels at all times. So we're really dedicated to helping moms drop that limiting belief that puts you in that state of constant overwhelm and burnout. So what we do is help you move away from that, create that identity where you do prioritize yourself. And in that identity, you will be able to create time for yourself and your needs. You'll be able to feel calmer and happier. You will live your life more fulfilled because you will be meeting your own needs in a way that nobody else can do. And so that's really what we are talking about when we say self-care from the inside out. I do want to let you know that we have a podcast called Self-Care from the Inside Out for Moms, and you can find it anywhere. You just go on Apple, Spotify, Podcast Addict, anything, type that in and we will pop up. So we talk about all these topics every week. It comes out on Wednesdays, sometimes Tuesday nights, but it will be every Wednesday. And you'll be able to listen to us talk about all these different topics that help moms prioritize themselves. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And I'm going to be doing these lives on a different topic every single month. So make sure that you check out those sites to find out when and where. I don't have them all the way scheduled out, but they will be every single month, and it will be on a different topic every single month. So for this topic, how to get through hard things, I want to talk about what the immediate problem is. So when you think about things that you're going through that are difficult, I want you to think about how you're feeling and what you're doing. So some of the feelings that would happen during something that's hard for you is you might be feeling anxious, you might be feeling sad, you might be feeling angry or fearful, lonely, worried, guilty, even helpless or dismissed, desperate, betrayed. All those feelings can come into play. And the things that you do when you feel like that are things like can't get out of bed. Maybe you're isolating yourself. Maybe you are fighting with your spouse or your partner. Maybe you have a lot less patience for your kids and you're yelling at them. You're snappy, you're over functioning. you're judging yourself, you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're avoiding people, you're blaming everyone around you, you're blaming yourself. It's really not a fun place to be. So what I want to talk about is your future self. So when you are going through something difficult and all those feelings come up and you're doing those things, that's what's happening to you in the present. That is your default reaction. And what I want to talk about is your future self, your future reaction, your future actions and feelings. So that's how you start. And this is where we want you to get to. We want you to get to the feelings of being calm, being self-confident, happy, joyful, proud, excited, resilient, powerful, determined, focused, empathetic, have some self-compassion, have some self-love. From those types of feelings, the things that you'll be doing are more things like planning for the future, seeking out people for help in community, getting involved in your community, prioritizing yourself, getting through the day without being snappy and frustrated all the time, slowing yourself down, not overfunctioning, not obsessing about things, just kind of slowing yourself down and being able to be in the moment and just be calmer. Maybe you're eating more nutritious food. You're taking care of your body and taking more walks. You're spending time with your family. Those are the types of things that you do when you feel a certain way. So when we think about feelings, we think about what you're feeling, your emotions are on the inside, and what you feel on the inside will determine what you do on the outside. And so that's why we talk about those two things together. So how do you get there? How do you get from the present of feeling anxious and sad and angry and snappy and frustrated to feeling calm and self-confident and having self-compassion? How do you get there? So we all have a default way of thinking and behaving, and that's why we call them patterns of behavior. Now, the key to changing how you're acting, how the things that you're doing, the key to changing that is interrupting that pattern of behavior. So I have a 3-step way to do that. And it is very simple. And I'll talk about it here. So when you want to change your behavior, you need to be aware of what you're thinking and feeling already. And so one of the best ways to do that is to identify the story that you're telling yourself. So what does that mean? So talk about your default story. When you talk about something that happens, just say it or write it or think it, but what is that story that you tell yourself over and over again? What's happening in the story? What is the problem? What are you feeling? What are you doing? What do you wish was different? So think about that story. Then when you think about that story and you identify those feelings that you're feeling and you're feeling the feelings that you're feeling, I want you to just let that happen. And what I mean by that is feel your feelings in the moment. Don't resist them. Don't try to push them away. Don't try to make them worse than they are. And that's another thing sometimes we do is we start to catastrophize things and we make things worse and we feel worse than things actually are. I want you to stay with the feelings that you're having now. Don't go in the future. Don't go in the past. Stay with what you're feeling now and process them through, but don't rush this process. So processing feelings is something that we do in our coaching practice. So I don't want to get too much into it right now, but it's basically feeling your feelings all the way through. And there is a technique to that, but I don't want to take up too much time with that part of it. But just know that your feelings are called feelings for a reason. You feel them in your body. So figure out where that is and just feel them all the way through. When that process is finished, I want you to retell your story. I want you to say it again, and I want you to find different truths and different thoughts, not untrue things, not untrue thoughts, but just different. What did you miss the first time around? Is it the same problem? Does it feel like the same problem? What are you feeling now? What are you doing now? What is the outcome? So this is a little bit of maybe you're thinking a little bit in the past and retelling your story. Maybe you're thinking a little bit in the future and thinking, this is what I could do either next time, or this is what I could do about this situation. But think about what you want to happen. What is the outcome? Okay, so you're identifying your story, your default story, what you're telling yourself now. You're feeling those feelings, you're not rushing that process, and then you're retelling your story in a way that is not untruthful, but maybe slightly different than what you told yourself the first time. I want to give you an example. So I want to talk about one of my stories, my default story, and my retelling of that story. So what I want to start with is what actually happened. And so what actually happened, which is a fact that cannot be changed, is that my husband was unemployed and I was 5 months pregnant. So those things don't change. That happened. I was, the unemployment happened and I was 5 months pregnant at the time that this story happened. So when that happened, my thoughts were, this is unfair. This is the worst timing. We're going to lose our house. The company cheated us. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to us in our whole lives. I was feeling resentful. I was feeling panicky and helpless and fearful. I was feeling kind of like a victim. So what I did from there was obsessed over fixing it. I just obsessed. I couldn't rest until I fixed the problem. I blamed and judged myself because I felt stuck. I couldn't get a job at 5 months pregnant. Didn't really make sense. So I couldn't bring money into the house. So I felt kind of helpless and I judged myself for that. I blamed and judged the company. How could they do this? How did they let this happen? I can't believe, all these people are unemployed. They don't even care, right? That kind of stuff. So I was blaming them. It was stressful. So I didn't have a lot of patience. I was snapping at people. I was very, very distracted and not present when I was with my daughter. Again, she was 4 years old. So I was trying to take care of her and also make sure that I was doing everything that I could to help the family in this time. And I was, I was feeling it from both sides. So I also stopped planning for the future because right now is what mattered and nothing else mattered. So I was very in the present, but not in a serving way, more in a, nobody talk to me and everybody get out of my way kind of a thing. So that's how I, so that was the circumstance. That's how I thought, and that's what I felt. And those were my actions in that scenario. This is a true story, by the way. This is something that actually happened, which is why I wanted to use this. So, feeling my feelings about that, just letting the panic and the fear and all of that happen. At the time, I didn't have coaching, so I didn't do that, but I have done that since. I've done that, uh, you know, when I started coaching, I started feeling my feelings and really letting them process through, which helps you move to the next phase faster. So, had I had coaching at this time, these steps would have been a lot faster. But nevertheless, I was able to change my story. So, the first story that I had was um, the same circumstance. My husband's company went bankrupt, and I was 5 months pregnant, stay at home mom with a 4-year-old daughter. So at the time, I was feeling very useless and ashamed that I couldn't bring money into the house. My husband couldn't find work. I couldn't find work, or I wasn't even looking. I didn't think that that was possible at 5 months pregnant. I obsessed over setting up services for us. I ignored our daughter in the process. The people I dealt with on the phone were rude and mean, and I was hung up on several times. I took my daughter to the local WIC office, and they had to prick her finger for a blood test, and she cried, and I felt horrible. We had no income, no health care. We finally did get health care through unemployment, but something happened and they said we no longer could have it and we had to pay them back, and that would be thousands of dollars, and we didn't have that money. So I also, being pregnant, I had a lot of back pain and it was hard for me to walk and stand. I couldn't sleep. I was exhausted all day. I was constantly worried about the effect this was having on my daughter and my unborn baby. My husband and I weren't connecting the way we used to because we were so stressed out all the time. It was just one of the worst times in our life. That's my first story. And that's what I believed for a very long time. When I was able to look at this story again and retell it, it became an exercise of empowerment. And that is the power of retelling your story. Now, I want you to keep in mind that both of these stories that I'm telling you are 100% true in the way that I saw them. And none of the things that you're hearing are made up. It's just when you retell your story in a way that serves you, it empowers you instead of keeps you in victimhood. So my second story is, again, my husband's company went bankrupt and I was 5 months pregnant, stay-at-home mom. We had a 4-year-old daughter. Again, that doesn't change. Those are the facts. What does change in my story is I went to work on finding services for our family, and most of the people that I talked to were very nice and knowledgeable. And I was able to set up enough services that helped us get over the hump of not having income coming in. Those programs not only helped us, but they connected us with the community. And I was able to discover the food pantry and the local Goodwill that we had in town, where they had free toys for kids. I was able to get my daughter a free book and a saucer sled that she loved for years. And actually, we still have that sled, I think, somewhere in the basement. She doesn't use it anymore. She's too old, but she loved that thing for years. I also found the free play group in town where I met other moms and was able to connect with them. We were able to get health care through unemployment. There was a glitch, and they told us that we might have to pay them back thousands of dollars, but we were able to straighten it out through several phone calls. And one of the reps even called us at home on a Saturday to help us because she knew how stressed out we were. I was so grateful for her outstanding customer service. I did have pain in my back from pregnancy, so it was hard for me to walk and stand, but I use this as an excuse to sit and read with my daughter, which she loved. And it was our special time together before the baby came. My husband wasn't finding work, but was invited to be part of a startup that his former colleagues were creating. And even though that was a little stressful, it was also kind of exciting. And it gave us the potential for flexibility that we needed as our family was growing. And it also had the potential to bring in money. Eventually, we did get a little bit of money coming in, which took some pressure off of us. And that sparked some deep conversations between me and my husband. And we did prove to ourselves that we can get through hard things no matter what. So, again, I want you to keep in mind that those two stories are completely true. Both of those things happened. In one scenario, I focused on all the negative. In the other scenario, I focused on all the positive. That's what you need to do. Not focus on the positive in a Pollyanna way, but focus on what serves you. Instead of keeping yourself in victim, put yourself in empowerment. That is the best way to make sure that you can get through hard things without suffering and sacrificing yourself. So practice that. Think of a story or think of something that happened to you in the past and think about your default story when you tell it. How do you tell that story? What are you saying to yourself? What are you remembering? How are you remembering the feelings? And maybe even if you haven't done it yet, maybe even feel those feelings now and think about, really think about where that is in your body. Where is that feeling? How does it feel? Again, don't rush that process. Maybe in a couple of days, come back to that story. Come back to that story and retell it. What did you miss? What are some things that you could add in that maybe you forgot? What are some of the positive things that happened? What did somebody do something for you that maybe at the time you thought wasn't a big deal, but maybe it is? It shifts your thinking into, I am empowered, I can figure this out, and I can get through hard things. So I want to thank you today for coming to this live. If you have any questions, go to momslovecoaching.com, or you can reach me at hello@momslovecoaching.com. And I look forward to connecting with you.